Okay. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really happy to have each of you join us, as well as Chamisa, who will let her introduce herself here too in a bit. Was just really excited to not only learn about her prior to before I joined and digitize in her work that she does with AI in education through ACES, the American Indian Science and Engineering Society, but really inspired by the work she's doing today. So excited to provide this space for her to share and center her work and have each of you join us. So again, welcome. My name is Caitlin, and I'm going to pass it over to Chamisa. Get us started.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. And hello, everybody. Yate. I'm Chamisa Edmo. I'm Navajo, Blackfeet, Shoshone, Bannock. And before we get too far into the weeds, I am hoping that everybody has access maybe to a phone or a device where you can grab this link. The first thing we want to do, and Caitlin, thank you so much for sharing that link in the chat. There's a link in the chat as well to Machine Learning for Kids. It's kind of a corny name, but I think it'll give us a good baseline if we have everybody in with an account there, just to kind of keep things rolling once we get to that part of the workshop part of the session. So additionally, I guess as we go, just another housekeeping, feel free to raise your hand and ask questions as we go through. I really want to make sure that everybody gets the most that they can out of this session, especially if you're a teacher working with Indigenous communities, Native communities here in the US or abroad, and you are trying to understand kind of how to use AI, integrate AI into your classrooms, and find meaningful ways to engage this topic with your students as you're also learning along with them, because that's a little bit intimidating to be in that position, especially as a teacher. So I will keep on trucking. Awesome. So thank you to Indigitize. I'm Chamisa. Again, I call Albuquerque, New Mexico home. I found this really wonderful picture of the bosque, and it's, I think, posted by the city. So those of you that may be familiar with the area, it's a wonderful time of year this year. A little windy from what I'm hearing, but yeah, I'm currently residing in Lawrence, Kansas. So I'm at the University of Kansas. I'm a graduate student researcher at the university in computer science. And my research is focused on Indigenous digital sovereignty and AI bias within that, and how we can, as communities, lead ethical tech development from our communities and for our communities. So it's something I'm really, really passionate about. I'm also very excited. I was a former teacher, so I'm always really excited to bring any knowledge that I gain from whatever space I might be in back to community wherever possible. So really making all of this as accessible as possible is my goal, just generally speaking. So now I'd like to, oh, actually, really quick introductions. This is basic agenda. We'll kind of power through the first couple of them, but I really want to spend a good bulk of the time on building a model. So those of you that are teachers can take some stuff back to your classrooms and have kind of a gift from this session, so you can cross off a couple lessons. And then we'll get into wrap up and some more resources for you all. Cool. So in the chat, could you all share your name, your tribal affiliation or community affiliation, and what grade, school, and subject area you teach? Awesome. I see some coming in now. And if anybody is feeling extra bold, feel free to raise your hand and we can you can come off mute and introduce yourself. I think we have 15 of us, so it's a pretty good number. Awesome. Nice to see you, TJ. And then as you all are popping those into the chat, good deal. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to meet you all. I also want you to start thinking about, in this one we will raise our hands and come off mute. I'm going full teacher mode right now, so be ready to be engaged if you can. I understand it's at the end of the day, but what is, we'll start with the first question too, after you put your name in the chat. What is one AI or tech tool that you use regularly? And the second question is, what's one question that you have today in coming into this session? Why are you here? Feel free to raise your hand and we can pop it over to you and you can let us know some of your answers.
Are we supposed to speak or just write down?
Yeah, either one.
Yeah,
Hello.
I work in a school. I used to teach computer science and mathematics, and I just like to take learn about new courses. We use ChatGPT a lot, and all other AI tools.
I love that. Awesome. So, yes, thank you for being here. Do you have any questions that you hope to have answered today, or are you curious about anything specific?
I'm just curious about when the word was indigenous people came in. I really want to know how can we learn something. Basically, I'm here to learn. I don't really have any specific questions. But as I said, if once we go further, I might come up with some questions.
Awesome. Yeah, that's totally perfect. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, feel free, again, for those of you that have just come in, feel free to raise your hand at any point as well, and ask any questions that you have as we're going. I want to make this as engaging as possible. Is there anybody else that wants to share maybe a question they have today coming into the session, or kind of a goal that they have in attending this PD? Going once, going twice. All right. That is a-okay. If you have anything, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll kind of check on it in a little bit. And after we get keep going, and we can touch base again at a further slide down the line. Awesome. So we are going to, and I'm going to be kind of switching screens here in my window, but I want to make this, again, as engaging as possible. So if everybody could, while I'm kind of going through this, identify where your reactions button is in Zoom. It should be down on the bottom, and there should be a bar. You'll find it. I believe in you. And then we're going to do a thumbs up for the left photo and a heart for the right photo. So this will make more sense in a second when we get to the AI or not. So one of the big things that I see a lot with a lot of teachers that I work with is they're not really sure how to approach and kind of gamify and really grab attention with some of the tools that are out there. I think there are a lot of lessons that speak really broadly about AI, but there's not really kind of like an entry point. So I wanted to show you all this game. It's called AI or Not. And we are going to decide with our reactions whether we think something is AI, or if a photo is AI generated or if it's not AI generated. So in this particular game, you select the photo that was generated by AI. So yes, thank you, Caitlin. A heart is the right one. A thumbs up is the left one. You can also put your answer into the chat. But let's go ahead and get started with this first one. So round one, we'll do this one kind of slowly, and then we'll go a little faster as we go. I'm seeing from everyone in the chat, I see 2 hearts. So that would be the right photo. Which one do you think is AI generated? Which one do you think is not? I see a couple more hearts. Awesome. I think that, good deal. I think I see a majority, I'll call it majority at this point, as the right photo is AI. I see one left. The right photo is AI, so we can click this and it's correct. So the right photo is AI. We'll go a little faster on these next couple. AI or not, give me a thumbs up for the left, a heart for the right. Cool. I see, oh, 2 conflicting. I see 2 thumbs, 2 hearts, couple more. I see a thumb. So I'm thinking that we're starting to maybe agree, a little bit of conflict. I'll click the left one. Oh, the left one was not the AI image. The next one, so this one's getting a little bit trickier. AI or not, give me a thumbs up or a heart. Heart for right, thumbs up for left. Cool, I saw some really quick hearts for the right, and that one is correct. Awesome. And then let's see, this last one, we'll do this one as like a last example. Can somebody raise your hand and tell me why you chose whichever photo you think is AI generated? I'm seeing some hearts right now. So if somebody that has reacted, could you come off mute and let us know why you think the right photo is AI generated? Like what kind of cues you're looking at?
This is Cheryl. One of the things I noticed was a greater 3D quality to it. That's just sort of my take on it. It has more imagination added to it instead of being maybe a cartoon picture of something that's real.
I love that. Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Cool. I see a hand raised. Kiko?
Yeah, I feel like if it looks overly glossy or overly clean, like it it looks kind of AI to me. Like I feel like real life it's not as vibrant like that. It's more not muted, but there's imperfections. It's like too perfect. Like that's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'm hearing lots of comments about like the texture of the image, kind of like the overall like color tones maybe of like this photo. So let's go ahead and click it. This one's incorrect. So this is where things kind of get a little bit counterintuitive and it is a little bit gray. I think I probably would have selected the right one as well, just because it does make a lot more sense to see all of the like the depth of image, I agree, and like the complexity. So this is a fun game that you can bring to your students kind of as like a little bit of an icebreaker to really get them starting to think critically about computer generated images. And this is specific to generative AI. So using transformers to assess initially and then kind of like generate from that corpus or I guess like big data database of information. That is what you can use this cool little interface for. I won't make you go through all 14 of these, but I'll have these slides out for you afterwards so you can take a look at that in the future. So just getting back to dropping things in the chat and raising hands, what are some smart tools or apps that you think you already use? I see Sarah has her hand up. And then what do you a second question to that is which of these tools that you use do you think use AI or are they like automated or rule-based? Yeah, Sarah.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I guess it wasn't to this question, but the way you delineated, like, I didn't know it was like a photo or you just said image. So there are some like artists that actually like produce images with like a lot of detail and like 3D. So I don't know. That's just it's really interesting to me that people are saying that, oh, if it has a lot of 3D, but sometimes there are artists that like make all of those details pretty well on their own, right?
Yeah, and probably a lot better than AI too. So yeah, I think definitely like this is a really I think the art component of this, especially when you're working with students, is something that you can really kind of go in a like a multitude of directions with, and you can definitely generate a lot of really good conversation. Thank you. So are there I guess for this next little section, I just want to get a sense of what people are using. I know some schools use like, I think it's called Magic School Bus AI. And then others I heard were using ChatGPT and starting to explore that with their students. Are you using any smart tools just in your regular life? Or and you can drop them in the chat as well. Does anybody want to hop off mute really quick to see if they want to explore a little further with automation or rule-based? And I'll give a little bit of context here. So automated tools would be things that kind of streamline process in the background. So if a table kind of uses a formula, like Airtable uses a formula to transform data for you kind of automatically, those little small step-by-step things are more automated and rule-based. And then AI is where we kind of get into a little bit more complex algorithms and things like that. So Google Maps, I just have a couple examples up here. Netflix Rex and Siri, those are all some examples of AIs that you might be using in day-to-day. But we will carry on. So what is AI? So from a just kind of big picture perspective, I wanted to really break this down for us, just so we have a little bit of foundation in the vocabulary we're using. So data science is where we use stats to statistical methods to model data. This is using like linear regression, small little things like that to really get an understanding of what's going on in the data. This is something that's been happening for quite a while, just generally speaking. And as teachers, this is something that you do day to day. So as you're going through the classroom and you're collecting data on students' performance, and you're kind of gathering an understanding of where students are in a lesson, where they are in their understanding, you're constantly doing data science. So teachers, I think, fundamentally are data scientists without maybe even calling themselves that. But it's something that you're kind of constantly gathering information about where your students are at and extracting insights from those small data points that you're collecting. AI is the transfer of that knowledge to a computer. So this would be maybe where you're using some of those tools that you have in class in your district, maybe to use really, really small data pieces, the like exit tickets in your classroom, things like that, to inform, kind of broadly speaking, where this class or where this student might perform in the future. So it's applying all of those insights and those small data points to where it might go in the future and kind of predicting that out. Machine learning is another step deeper into the rabbit hole. And this is where we are enabling systems to learn without telling them exactly what we're trying to make them learn. So in the case of maybe large language models, you back propagate, you send data back. So as you learn in one direction forward, you're going to compare that to like the actual data that you're testing and learning on. So it's a little bit more complex with algorithms and stats and all kinds of really small mathematical equations that are built into the process, but it starts to get a little bit more layered. Deep learning as well is the layering of neural networks. And then artificial general intelligence, I think, is where a lot of us go to when we think about AI, and that's the dystopian robot, iRobot kind of world where the robots are doing everything and we are just their minions. So it goes a pretty big range, but it's all based in math, based in stats, and nothing really to be too afraid of. So with all of this, I wanted to show some real examples, and this slide deck will be shared after this session. These are some real life examples of what AI actually is, and it's a little bit small to see, so hopefully y'all can see that, but you can zoom in when you get it. AI is used to assess and track on video and imaging. So computer vision is a big one that's happening now. And we see that a lot with automated cars that are driving around and kind of like correctly or incorrectly sometimes identifying the objects that are in front of the cameras. Large language models are another big domain or area of study when it comes to AI. This is the ChatGPTs. This is also a number of things like autocorrect and all of these small tools that we use every day, where we're constantly putting text in and kind of getting text out, and this text model can be applied to other problems as well. And then you can see some recommendation systems that would be like the Spotify, AI DJ, things like that, based on previous patterns in your behavior. How can we predict what you'll do next within these particular rules or confines? So I think we're all kind of constantly using AI, whether we know it or not. I think you all probably are all here because you know that you're using AI. So I won't go any further there. So the state of the research as it exists now is we've all seen a huge spike in just general discourse around AI. So this is in just popular opinion and in conversations that we've seen. I heard that on the Super Bowl, there was like a number of commercials that were about AI, specifically about like writing letters and things like that. So I think everybody's become very, very curious in the past few years because of the rise of ChatGPT and other transformer-based models in what AI does, what it's for, how it works, things like that. So it's also being adopted pretty rapidly in healthcare, and finance and in education. There are some really specific tasks that AI are really good at. And a lot of it is math-based or small tasks that are like image processing or things like that that can kind of get in the way of or add burden to people as they're working through their day-to-day jobs. So there is a growing demand in AI awareness and talent and developers and people who understand these systems and can apply some of those ideas and tailor those tools to their own like industry. And Indigenous academics and just in Indigenous tech development in general, there is a lot of conversation about data ownership, digital sovereignty, all of those things that have been going on for a long time. But now that we're seeing a rise in AI and popularity, data is really like the main kind of I guess, resource for those models to be able to use and understand us. So another kind of like layer of extraction there. So privacy concerns for Indigenous communities. And I think where a lot of academics and research is going is understanding and asserting the importance of tribal sovereignty as it exists wherever those communities are, and also making sure that we can prevent or mitigate some of that cultural and traditional knowledge exploitation. In AI and universities and like K through 12, we see a lot of AI clubs. I'm sure you all are in charge of clubs as well. And there's a lot of discussion that I've heard around like how we use AI in the classroom, what's the best way to do that. And I'm going to pause right here actually before we go to the next one. Does anybody, are there any schools that you work with that have maybe AI policies that you're working on? Have your schools adopted a standard tool that you use? Are there any like questions or processes that anybody wants to share? Awesome. If you think of anything, feel free to share it in the chat. I think lots of teachers are always looking to, oh, I see one right now. Thank you, TJ. So the district has an AI policy listed on the board docs. Yeah, I think a lot of schools are kind of in the same boat, trying to figure out how to navigate these things, what the best process is for integrating or not integrating at all these tools. So it's always good to kind of have like an open discussion, I think, if possible. So I'll just keep it moving. AI is ubiquitous, and we really do need to develop tools that are responsible, especially with culturally sensitive IP. And that's kind of where my research is, and where a lot of my lesson plans go is it builds into this discussion around how do we do this in in a good way for our communities? How do we teach our students, Indigenous students especially, to be a little bit critical of the technology and applications and ways things are done currently, and how do we kind of assert as Native people our ability to be sovereign nations and own that data and really own the technology and tools that we're using. Cool. So the big moment has arrived. We're going to build a model, and this will require us to be in a few different breakout rooms. So I'm going to give you all some time. Let me set the stage though first. So we are all new engineers at a large software company, and we are all racing to deliver an AI solution to our CEO. With your dev team, so this will be in your breakout rooms, I'm going to ask you to create a reverse image search tool that categorizes images into categories. So, or that classifies images into categories. So we're going to build an image model, an image AI together in our teams. And we're going to try and see how accurate we can make it. Some things that I want you all to consider as you're building in your teams are how will you gather and train your data? So this is more of a kind of like project management, like how are we all going to be training our own personal models on the same data so that we all can replicate the tool across our team? How are we going to categorize or label this data that we're collecting? What we're going to do to train the model. In this particular instance, you just push train and it'll train it for you. So it's a really fun tool for students to use that doesn't require a whole lot of technical expertise on the teacher's side. And then testing, how are we going to measure whether our model is accurate? So these are all questions that I want you all to consider. And while we thank you, Caitlin, while we are getting into our rooms, please take a moment, if you haven't already, to sign up for the Machine Learning for Kids website. It's pretty simple to sign up, but you do kind of have to verify your account on your email and things like that. So if we could hop into some breakout rooms. Once you get into your breakout room, I'm going to suggest that you kind of like maybe come up with roles on the team, like who's going to set up the folder to share each of your photos, who's going to be in charge of determining categories, how are we going to determine categories, just kind of get familiar with each other, and then we'll come back into this big group so I can show you all around a little bit. And then Caitlin, I think we can give them maybe like 4 minutes or so right now just to kind of get in and then get familiar with each other. And then I'll switch to the instructions, and we can pull everybody back, and then I can walk through a little bit of a tutorial.
Okay. Do you want me to share like the slides with them right now too, just so they have that? Was it the challenge piece of it? I wonder.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
a really, yeah, definitely. Here is, or yeah, I think you should be able to share that one.
Oh, do you view only? Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Oops.
Hey, somehow I did not get into a breakout room.
Okay, no worries. Let me see.
Said I was joining breakout room 4 and then it just didn't work.
Okay, yeah. Let me try and move you really quick. Mm. And actually, what might be good is I'm not seeing where I can. Oh wait, I think you should be good now. Can you see it?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, we had questions.
Yeah.
What are we trying to do? We've gotten as far as started a new machine learning project. And what type of project are we talking about doing?
Yeah, we're gonna pull everybody back in, and then I'm gonna go through some step-by-steps so you all know what to do next. But yeah, let me get Caitlin back in here, and then we'll pull everybody back together. Hey Caitlin, can we close the close the rooms and pull everybody back now?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I just now got through, I think, all the rooms, giving them
Okay.
the link.
Yeah, perfect.
Let me close this.
Did it seem like everybody kind of had their account set up as you were popping through, Caitlin?
Yeah, yeah, it seems like
Good
they are.
deal. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of time sometimes, I think, to get the handshake between the email and pop back over to the site. So I'm glad everybody was able to navigate that. All right, cool. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And I heard it was successful getting all of your accounts set up. That was the main step. The next step will, I'm going to walk everybody through just how to set up a basic project. And then I'll give you some marching orders, and then we can go back into our rooms, and I'll give you about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll kind of be cycling through each of the rooms to answer questions to help you all through how to set up and train your models. So once you have your account, and I think, do we have everybody in here now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So once you have your account set up, you'll be at a page similar to this. It might look a little bit different depending on how things are set up. But I'm going to have you all go to your projects. So you can click the projects tab at the very top, or you can click into projects from the other the front page of your profile. Here you should have a plus sign to create a new project. So because our company really likes photos, we're going to be making a project and we're going to name it whatever we want, something catchy, something that's on topic. And then we're going to do an image recognition project type. So our company really likes photos. We have tons of photos that we have access to on Google, and we are going to use those photos to help us train and build out our model. So our storage option here today is going to be in your web browser. This just makes it a little bit easier. You don't need any keys to use this tool beyond what we're doing in the classroom. So that will be how you set up this first part. You click create. Very quickly, you'll see a test project. So whatever you named your project, that'll be what the project is under. And then you can click into that tile. One more time, I'm going to click into the tile and it'll pop up your project like this. So where we're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so, 15 probably, I think there are a few of us. So we're going to spend it in this train section. So here, if you click train, you start to add buckets. So these are our labels for all of our data. And the labels will be what our model takes and predicts with at the end. So really quickly, just as like an example of some data that has already been put into buckets. I am sharing with you all at the end the same project, but I have categories of powwow dancers. So powwow, if you aren't familiar, is something that we do intertribally. So it's across many nations. So it's not one specific tribe that powwows. I say that because it's something that everybody kind of has access to. So it's a celebration. We all get together at big events and get together, dance. Contests are important. Dancing is important. Everybody's kind of introduced to powwow when they're really young. So within powwow, there are categories of dancers. There's, in this case, I have grass dancers, fancy shaw, traditional dancers, men's fancy, jingle dress, women's Mexican. There are tons of categories. I just have a few that I could fit into this little project here. But it gets more and more complex kind of the more you dance, and there's team dancing, things like that. So there's a lot that goes into powwow, and how to train a model to recognize just dance categories by itself was a pretty complex problem that I tried to solve with this tool. So each of these images comes straight from Google. I, in this case, downloaded all of my photos locally onto my laptop, desktop, and then uploaded them. There are a number of ways that you can pull images. So you can drop a URL to a photo. You can use your webcam. So if you're doing maybe a dog or cat, like if you have a cat, you can hold it up to the camera and take a photo of your cat. You can also draw. So this is a fun tool that allows students to really kind of get creative with what they're putting into their buckets, into their categories. And then another way that I do suggest, at least today, just to make it a little bit easy, is if you go to images.google.com, you can use pictures of cats here, and you can add these to your collection. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, this process of adding photos to collections in Google, but if you add a photo to a collection, you can select like an album essentially that you're going to use. And then you can drag and drop those same images into your buckets over here. So I just created this, and they're private to me, and I'm dropping the photos straight in, just drag and drop into the buckets. That's a pretty simple way to do it as well. So what you're going to do with your development team is you're going to spend the next 10 minutes or so figuring out what you want to identify. So whether it's cats or dogs, you could do snowy mountains versus mountains that don't have snow. You could do images of New Mexico versus images of Kansas. Those are pretty distinct topologies. So you could do a number of things, but I want you to get with your team, figure out what you're going to train your model to be able to identify from these images, and then start building your buckets. And again, the buckets are the titles of each of the categories. So let's go ahead and spend the next 10 or so minutes building our model in our teams. We're going to send you all back to your breakout rooms now.
Okay, and then I know we had a couple of people join us too, so I'm gonna open up a an additional room and then put you folks in there. Then I sent you guys a link too if you wanted to sign up for the tool that Chamisa is sharing with us. All right, I'm gonna open those.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm sorry, I was muted. What was the, I was just asking away. So what is the, we're going to make categories, but what is the overreaching umbrella before we start making categories? Like you did dance here, fancy dancers or whatever. What is our main overall umbrella?
Yeah, you can decide that with your team. So if you want your model to just identify cats versus dogs, initially, just because that's two simple categories that you can grab photos for, you can absolutely do that. Maybe cats, dogs, and ferrets. So you can choose, in my example that I'm going to share with you all at the end, it's based in powwow. So it's really whatever you and your team decide to build.
Okay.
And then I'll hop into maybe one of the rooms that has just one person in it, and then help out and kind of get things started there.
And then for anybody that just joined us too, I'm gonna put in the chat before you jump into your breakout rooms, this link, because I think we had Sarah, Mikal. Hey, Amy. Everybody's in their breakout rooms right now. I could put you in one if you want.
Hi, sorry. We're just finishing up our meeting, so I wanted to pop in. I'm so sorry we're late.
Here, I'm gonna share the slide deck with y'all. So they're currently on slides 10, 11, and 12. And then Chimisa's like popping through the rooms to make sure anyone has any questions on, because they're using this machine learning website. So they're challenged, and then what they're doing is creating pockets of folders of that of different images, so that way their AI model is trained on.
Oh, cool. Interesting. Okay. Check it out.
5 more minutes until breakout rooms will close. Hello, Sam. I don't know if you got a chance to join the group yet, but we're going to close off the breakout rooms. Everyone's just in them right now, kind of working on their machine learning image models and testing that out. But I'll also share the slideshow here too. You're just joining us. Got somebody else just joining us too. Hello, Matt. Hello, Sam. Everybody's in some breakout rooms right now, but we're going to be closing them here shortly. So if you're just joining us, no worries. Let me share a couple of links with you all too.
Thank you.
So there's a link in the chat for machine learning for kids that Chamisa presenter is demonstrating kind of how to use and how to train a machine learning model with students. And then the second link is our slide deck that we're using as well. And we're at slides 10, 11, and 12. gonna bring everyone back to the group here.
Awesome. All right. Hello. Good deal. So, I'm going to show you all some next steps. Hopefully you had enough data and a little bit of extra time in your breakout sessions to train some of your models. Let's see, I'm going to go to this window. So there was a really good question right as soon as we went to the breakout rooms about topic. So there weren't any explicit instructions for what kind of model we were going to train or what our categories needed to be. Does anybody want to share out, before I get kind of into the training section of it, what they train their model with to identify? That's okay. Oh, yeah, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I
Or
can
Drew?
share. We chose a cat, a dog, and a spider as different different ones. And I tried testing with my live dog, and it worked.
Yay, that's awesome. I saw one more person that maybe wanted to share. Good deal. That's okay. So it's a little bit complex to figure out what categories will work the best. I think when you're getting into it and building kind of under pressure, that's one of the things that many development teams run into. So in simulating kind of like a high pressure situation where you're not like you're unclear with some directions and things like that in your class, I think that can pretty quickly identify like some team dynamics and things like that that you can help students work through. And you can also, it's a really fun, I guess, thought experiment really to like what it's like to be on a development team in a company as well. So I just wanted to show you all what it looks like when a model is trained. So you should be looking right now at my my Powwow image identifier. So this is all of my buckets. Again, if you weren't here earlier, these are all buckets for categories of dance. I've learned and trained all of this. So once you're able to get enough data points into your buckets, you'll get to this page. It'll kind of stop you with the first two gray boxes if you don't have enough data, which I'm sure a few of you probably ran into, but hopefully you were able to troubleshoot that. Sorry I didn't make it to all of the rooms, but once you do have enough images in your buckets, you should quickly be able to train and test your model. So for I guess actually before I show you mine, do you want to show me, Elizabeth, your model. Do you want to share your screen and show us your model with your dog? I don't know if that's possible if your dog's still there.
Sure, I'll make him join. Let me make sure I still have it open. There we go. Good. Okay, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Machine learning for kids. So we had 5 examples of dogs, 6 examples of cats, 4 examples or 5 examples of spiders. So come on, bud. You're gonna participate again. Here we go. Let's see how that goes. That recognized him with 79% confidence as a dog.
Yay! So it's mostly confident that you have a dog right now. That's awesome. So this is where we can thank you for sharing, and that's a really awesome model, especially with like the time constraints. You can pretty quickly show students how to get into the statistics of these models, and really like 79% confidence isn't great for model performance, just kind of in the real world. Like we want to be a little bit more than like C+, certain that something is correct. So generally speaking, when we're training models, we want students to get to maybe like 89, 90% confidence, and it all comes down to data quality. So thank you for sharing again. And I did see a question. I wanted to, James, do you still have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna say in your model, I think you left the cat in one of your categories. And I don't know if that was on purpose, but I didn't want to screw with your model.
Oh yeah, okay. So the example one.
Yeah, I was like looking at that. I'm like, I don't know if that's quite the category you're looking for that.
Yeah, no worries. We kind of threw that one together quickly, but thank you. Yeah, it would definitely, I think that's a fun experiment too that you can do with students as well. If you have some students that maybe mix up cats and dogs and see what that does to the model and performance, that's another kind of extension of some of that. So we have about 25 more minutes or so. I'm gonna go ahead and move a little bit ahead. So these instructions are all there. I'm going to clarify a couple of things and give you all a little bit more explicit instruction around how to store in your database photos, so students can either create like a Google folder or create collections on Google Images. It's pretty quick. So really what this whole activity and many of the activities that I have, or the 2 activities I have for you today for lesson plans, want to kind of model for your students is the limitations of these AI models and how statistically we don't usually get very accurate models or nuanced models at the current state of the technology. So this is because of it's really difficult, as you all found out kind of firsthand, to train models to be robust. That means that they can generalize to a number of different categories without having the data to build those buckets. So if we held up maybe a bird in your cat, dog, or spider model, the computer would say probably 50-50, this is a cat, and it'll just kind of randomly throw out like, oh, heads or tails, it might be this, might be that. So there's not really a degree of certainty that we can trust when it comes to models, especially when they're lacking in data. Another in AI and AI training in general, another thing that we hear often is garbage in, garbage out. So if the data isn't of good quality, so we have a bunch of really grainy photos of dogs, say, and a bunch of really crisp and clear photos of cats, that model is going to be able to identify cats better and will maybe identify like a Minecraft version of a dog because it's kind of pixely and square. So whatever we put into the models is really what we're going to be able to take away from the model. Another issue that happens in a lot of these models now is missing nuance. So because the people that have built these models don't necessarily have the cultural knowledge and foundational information that we do as humans with a lived experience, that then translates to the types of tools that are being developed and kind of the limitations that are built into the models as they're being developed. This can create hallucinations. So that's that really kind of broad term for when a computer confidently tells you that the sky is green, and that is based on all of these statistical models. So it kind of is chaining together a bunch of assumptions and things like that from the training data without any rhyme or reason. And this is something that's difficult to control as a developer because these models are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and more complex and built on each other. So that ends up being a little bit of an issue trying to control what the exact output will be all the time. Additionally, as you all ran into, some rush deadline development creates situations where there's less testing and less, I guess, like ethical oversight as these are being developed. 2 examples that I have here on the right. We have a movie that I definitely suggest, especially if you're getting students into AI and you're really wanting to kind of demonstrate the limitations of these models and tools. Coded Bias is one that's really, really wonderful. The researchers that developed this project and have since further developed entire networks of computer scientists that are looking into some of these issues around ethics in AI and limitations of AI. This is an awesome movie that demonstrates how these models were trained on a very specific data set and don't have the ability to handle other images. In this case, it's the faces of Black people. The computers just, when this research was coming out, couldn't handle it, didn't recognize faces. Another one, and this is from my research specifically, in Lawrence, Kansas, there's a tribal college that's here. Just for some context, KU and Haskell have been here for the same amount of time, essentially 18 years more for KU, so not too much longer, but still about 150 years. I asked ChatGPT if it could give me the tribal history of Lawrence, Kansas, assuming that like we kind of hit some of the high points, like really early tribal history into like present day. Oh, Haskell's here. But it's actually, no matter which way I slice it, meaning no matter which way I ask the model, it doesn't give me any information about Haskell. So it's omitting completely huge bits of cultural nuance and kind of some place-based knowledge. So that's something interesting. Definitely encourage you all to explore that with your students. Prompt engineering is another piece of computer science and model testing that you can bring into the classroom pretty easily. So as some last details to share with you all, as teachers, again, you're data scientists, so you're already smarter than the AI, and you can already process data at a really, really incredible pace in the classroom and in the moment. So continuing to explore how AI tools can guide students and continuing to explore how they can also help you figure out how to navigate the classroom and management and data, and all of that is super, super key. So staying curious, encourage critical thinking as you're bringing these tools into your classrooms. A lot of where I'm seeing trends, at least in my experience, is students are really curious about how these tools work, but it's up to us as educators and people guiding them through their learning to understand these limitations are built in. And so not to kind of blindly trust the tools, but as you're maybe building an essay, like start with the chat engineering prompt and then build it from there to build additional context into a more complex question or another kind of layer of reasoning for them. Ethics in AI, this is a huge topic just generally. So understanding what models are built on what data, those are things that you can kind of explore yourself, but also encourage your students to explore. And then a balance with technology and human insight. This all comes back to we have expertise, place-based expertise as Indigenous people. Your students have really complex networks and identities in their cultural settings. So as you're working, especially with Native students, encouraging them to understand where their place in technology is, because it really is an expertise that computers can't replicate. So some continued learning. I added a few links in here for you around AI ethics discussions. GITA is a really awesome network of computer scientists, technologists globally that are working to develop and maintain standards for AI and tech development, data sovereignty, and all that goes under that umbrella. The Native Nations Institute at U of A is awesome. They have a really awesome page full of resources that you can click into for data sovereignty. Coded Bias, I have a link there. And then Weapons of Math Destruction, that's a good book that you can encourage your students to read. It really breaks down a lot of what we've covered today in more depth around the statistics and kind of limitations of math and applied math in this technology. And last, as a parting gift and a thank you for showing up and staying for this really long session at the end of your long day, is 2 lesson plans. One of them is the reverse image search that we just did. And this walks you through some discussion, some just really high level engaging ways to get students into the tool. And I'm going to add a little bit more detail around how to save some of that data and replicate those. And then I also wanted to share with you all the Powwow Shazam example. So this is a tool that you can develop, especially with like middle school and high school students, to increase, I guess, their critical thinking around how we develop tools and why we develop tools. So Powwow, again, being the umbrella for just like an intertribal gathering. Everyone has Powwow nearby. So you can bring this tool on your phone to a Powwow and really start testing it in real time in community. So it's similar to what we did. It's built on Teachable Machine, and I can actually show you all what this looks like just on the back end. So this particular model that I shared with you all is for identifying Northern and Southern style drums and hand drum music. And this is all built on like YouTube videos that are really old and like Gathering of Nation contest songs and things like that. So showing students how to train a model with open source data and things like that is super useful, and it really does get them excited when they're able to take their phone out to a powwow, say, and really start to test and understand the stats in real time, like, oh, this is Northern Cree that's singing, but somehow like it's saying it's a hand drum song, things like that. It's a fun way to get students engaged. So thank you all for being here. I am wondering if there are any questions, if there are if anybody wants to share anything. We'll definitely, Caitlin put a survey into the chat. So this is for your professional development certificates.
Yeah, thank you, Chamisa, for walking us through this tonight and for all the shared resources too at the end. And thank each one of you too for your time tonight and this evening. I put 2 links in there, the post survey that Chamisa mentioned. So I'll make sure you fill that out. You'll get your PD certificate from Indigitize. And then there's also a link there too where you'll find and be able to access and share, and we'll share that out too with anybody that was registered for this session. If you would like to share this with anybody else as well. And then I also saw Elizabeth had a question too about the link to, if I think you were referring to the lessons that were shared out. So I put the link there too. Let me know if you need any additional support with that. But yeah, we thank you all. I know Chamisa says she would be generous at the end here and just leave it open if anyone had any additional questions to stay on the session as well. I know we had some people that had to pop off for other meetings or commitments this evening. But again, thank each one of you for sharing your time with us, and Chamisa for all your knowledge and walking us through your presentation, how to use this machine learning model. I think that was really fun to be able to apply that and think about ways like we could use this within the context of our own students as well.
Awesome. Yes, of course. Thank you all. I'll give you all back 12 minutes of valuable evening offline time. Yeah, I'll stay on though until 6:30 if you all have any questions or anything specific you ran into or that you want to go deeper into. I'm happy to stay.
Chamisa, I came in late and I just have a couple of questions. For the tool, is it free no matter how you register?
Yeah, so you can apply for one of the Watson IBM API keys. But for anything that I have put together, you can do it for free completely.
Okay. And then when you're storing data on the web browser versus